What if I told you that God has placed within you a secret power, one so extraordinary it can overcome any fear, break through any obstacle, and unlock the life you were destined for? This isn't just a hopeful idea, it's a truth that's been waiting for you to discover. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could change your life forever. Chapter 1. The Hidden Gift. How God's secret power can transform your life. Have you ever felt like life was weighing you down, as if something essential was missing? You strive, you fight, but there's always a sense that you're not living up to your full potential. What if I told you the power you seek has been within you all along, a gift from God waiting to be unlocked? God doesn't create anyone without purpose. He has placed within every person a secret power, a divine gift meant to guide, strengthen, and uplift us. This power isn't flashy or loud. It's subtle but profound. It's the strength that carries you through your darkest nights, the wisdom that whispers in your heart when you're lost, and the courage that helps you face impossible odds. But here's the catch. This power can only be unlocked when you align yourself with God's will. When you trust Him, you tap into a strength far greater than anything the world can offer. Chapter 2. Unlocking Divine Strength. The key to overcoming any challenge. Life is full of challenges. Some days it feels like the storms just won't pass. But God never promised a life free from struggles. He promised to equip you with what you need to overcome them. The key is realizing that your strength alone is not enough, but God's strength is limitless. Think of a time when you faced a situation that seemed impossible to endure. Maybe it was a loss, a betrayal, or a failure. Yet somehow you found the strength to carry on. That wasn't just your strength, it was divine power at work within you. When you surrender your fears to God and ask for His help, you tap into a source of strength that never runs dry. Trust in Him, and you will find that even your weakest moments become a stage for His greatest miracles. Chapter 3. Faith over Fear. How trust in God unleashes courage. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions we face. It sneaks into our minds and whispers lies, telling us we're not good enough, not smart enough, or not strong enough to handle the challenges ahead. It has the ability to paralyze us, holding us back from achieving our dreams, building relationships, or even taking the first step towards something better. But here's the truth. Fear is not from God. He didn't create us to live in constant worry or self-doubt. Instead, He equipped us with something far more powerful: faith. Faith is the antidote to fear. It's the trust and confidence that God is in control, even when life feels chaotic or uncertain. Faith doesn't mean we won't feel afraid. Fear is a natural response to the unknown or to challenges that seem too big for us to handle. But faith allows us to push forward despite fear, knowing we're not alone. True courage isn't about never feeling afraid. It's about moving forward, even when fear is present, because you trust that God is with you every step of the way. Think about it. How often do we let fear dictate our actions? Fear tells us to stay where it's safe, to avoid taking risks, or to give up when things get hard. But faith changes our perspective. Instead of focusing on the size of our problems, we focus on the size of our God. Fear makes obstacles look bigger than they are, but faith reminds us that nothing is too big for God to handle. He sees the whole picture, even when we can only see a small part of it. One of the most incredible examples of faith over fear is the story of David and Goliath. David was just a young shepherd boy, and Goliath was a giant warrior who had everyone trembling in fear. To most people, the situation looked impossible, but David didn't focus on the size of Goliath. He focused on the power of God. He knew that with God on his side, he could face what seemed impossible, and he did. David's faith gave him the courage to step forward, and he emerged victorious. This same faith is available to us. No matter what challenges or giants we face in life, we can trust that God is bigger. Whether it's a financial struggle, a broken relationship, or an overwhelming fear of failure, faith allows us to move forward with confidence. It doesn't mean the road will be easy, but it does mean that we're never walking it alone. One of the hardest things about fear is how it convinces us to believe lies about ourselves. Fear tells us that we're not good enough, that we'll never succeed, or that we're alone in our struggles. But these are lies. God's truth is the exact opposite. He says we are fearfully and wonderfully made. He promises that he will never leave us or abandon us, and he reassures us that we are capable because his strength is made perfect in our weakness. Overcoming fear starts with shifting our focus. Instead of dwelling on what could go wrong, we can choose to focus on what God says is possible. Instead of worrying about our own limitations, we can trust in God's limitless power. Fear feeds on doubt, but faith grows when we remember who God is and what he has already done in our lives. Take a moment to reflect on the times when God carried you through difficult situations. Those moments are proof that he is faithful and that his power is more than enough. Faith isn't just about believing in God, it's about trusting him completely. It's about surrendering our fears and worries to him and taking action, even when we don't have all the answers. This kind of faith requires us to step out of our comfort zones, but it also brings incredible rewards. When we trust God and take that first step, we open the door for him to work in our lives in ways we never imagined. Prayer is one of the most powerful ways to strengthen our faith. When we pray, we're not just talking to God. We're inviting him into our fears and asking him to replace them with his peace. Prayer helps us shift our focus from the things that scare us to the one who has control over everything. It's a reminder that we don't have to carry our burdens alone. It's important to remember that faith isn't about having all the answers or never feeling afraid. It's about trusting the one who does have the answers. Faith is like a muscle. The more we use it, the stronger it becomes. Each time we face a fear and choose to trust God instead, we grow stronger and more confident in his ability to guide us. Fear will always try to hold us back, but it doesn't have to win. When we choose faith, we unlock a courage and strength that comes directly from God. With him, we can face any challenge, overcome any obstacle, and move forward toward the life he has planned for us. So the next time fear tries to stop you, remember, you don't have to face it alone. God is with you, and his power is greater than anything you'll ever face. Trust him, take the first step, and watch how faith transforms your life. Chapter 4. The Magnetic Force of Gratitude, Attracting Miracles Every Day. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces we can cultivate in our lives. It's more than just saying thank you when something good happens. Gratitude is a way of seeing the world, a mindset that shifts your focus from what you don't have to what you do. When you practice gratitude consistently, it creates a ripple effect that transforms not only your perspective, but also your circumstances. Many of us spend so much time dwelling on what's missing in our lives. We think about the job we didn't get, the opportunities that passed us by, or the goals we haven't achieved yet. While it's natural to want more out of life, this constant focus on lack can trap us in a cycle of negativity. It blinds us to the blessings that are already present and robs us of the joy we could be experiencing right now. Gratitude breaks that cycle. It acts as a magnet, drawing more blessings into your life. The more you focus on what you're thankful for, the more you'll begin to notice things to be grateful for. It's a simple but profound truth. What you focus on grows. When you choose gratitude, you invite more positivity, more abundance, and more miracles into your life. The spiritual power of gratitude. Gratitude is deeply spiritual. It's an acknowledgement of God's goodness and faithfulness in our lives. When we thank God for what we have, we're not just expressing appreciation, we're building a stronger connection with Him. Gratitude is an act of faith, a way of saying, I trust that you are taking care of me, and I see the evidence of your love in my life. The Bible repeatedly emphasizes the importance of gratitude. In 1 Thessalonians 5:18 we're told, Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Notice the words, in all circumstances. Gratitude isn't just for the good times, it's for the challenging moments too. Even in difficulty, there is always something to be grateful for, whether it's the strength to keep going, the lessons learned through trials, or the presence of God's peace in the midst of chaos. How gratitude shifts your perspective. Gratitude changes the way you see the world. Instead of focusing on what's wrong, you begin to notice what's right. This shift in perspective has a powerful impact on your mental and emotional well-being. Studies have shown that practicing gratitude can reduce stress, improve sleep, and increase overall happiness. It's like rewiring your brain to focus on the positive. Imagine waking up in the morning and immediately thinking about all the things you're grateful for: the roof over your head, the food in your kitchen, the people who care about you. Starting your day with gratitude sets the tone for everything that follows. Instead of being overwhelmed by stress or worries, you carry a sense of peace and appreciation throughout the day. Gratitude in action. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a practice. It's something you actively do, even when it doesn't come naturally. Start by making a habit of thanking God every day. You can do this through prayer, journaling, or simply reflecting on your blessings. Make a list of things you're grateful for, no matter how small. Did you wake up feeling rested? That's a blessing. Did someone smile at you today? That's a gift. One powerful way to practice gratitude is by shifting your focus during difficult times. When something doesn't go as planned, instead of immediately complaining or feeling discouraged, ask yourself, what can I be thankful for in this situation? Maybe it's an opportunity to grow stronger. Maybe it's the people who support you during tough moments. Gratitude helps you see the silver lining even in the darkest clouds. The ripple effect of gratitude. When you cultivate gratitude, it doesn't just affect you, it impacts everyone around you. Gratitude is contagious. When you express appreciation to others, it lifts their spirits and encourages them to do the same. Imagine how different the world would be if more people focused on what they're thankful for instead of what they lack. Gratitude also strengthens relationships. When you take the time to thank the people in your life, your family, friends, co-workers, you deepen your connections with them. Gratitude reminds us that no one is an island. We're all supported by the love and kindness of others. The role of gratitude in faith. Gratitude is one of the simplest yet most profound ways to worship God. When you thank Him, you're acknowledging His presence and His blessings in your life. You're saying, I see what you've done for me, and I'm grateful. This act of thanksgiving draws you closer to God and strengthens your faith. But gratitude doesn't just honor God, it also invites Him to do more in your life. Think about it. When someone expresses genuine appreciation for what you've done for them, doesn't it make you want to do more for them? It's the same with God. When we show gratitude, we open the door for Him to bless us even more. Gratitude during hard times. One of the most challenging yet rewarding aspects of gratitude is learning to practice it during tough times. It's easy to be thankful when everything is going well, but what about when life feels like it's falling apart? This is where gratitude becomes a powerful act of faith. During hardships, gratitude doesn't mean ignoring your pain or pretending everything is fine. It means looking for the blessings that still exist, even in the midst of struggle. Maybe it's the lesson you're learning, the people who stand by you, or the quiet strength you find in prayer. Gratitude doesn't erase the challenges, but it gives you the strength to face them with hope. A grateful heart attracts miracles. When you cultivate a heart of gratitude, you align yourself with God's abundance. Gratitude is like planting seeds in fertile soil. Each time you thank God for His blessings, you're preparing the ground for more blessings to grow. The more you focus on what you're grateful for, the more you'll begin to notice opportunities, solutions, and miracles that were always there, but were hidden behind the veil of negativity. Remember, gratitude isn't about waiting for your circumstances to change. It's about changing your perspective right now. When you choose gratitude, you choose joy, peace, and the ability to see God's hand at work in every area of your life. Gratitude transforms not only how you see the world, but also how the world responds to you. Practicing gratitude daily is one of the simplest yet most life-changing habits you can develop. Start small. Thank God for the little things and watch how your perspective shifts. With time, you'll realize that gratitude doesn't just attract blessings, it reveals them. The miracles are already there, waiting for you to notice them. All it takes is a grateful heart to see them clearly. Chapter 5. Your Divine Calling. Discover the purpose God designed for you. Have you ever wondered why you are here? Why were you created at this exact moment in history with your unique talents, interests, and experiences? These aren't accidents or coincidences. God doesn't make mistakes. You were intentionally designed, and your life has a purpose. It's not just about surviving, working, or going through the motions. It's about fulfilling the divine calling that God has placed on your life. Every single person has a purpose, a role that only they can fulfill. Some may call it destiny, but in spiritual terms, it's much deeper. Your divine calling is God's specific plan for your life, a plan that fits perfectly with who you are, what you've been through, and what you're meant to do. It's not about being famous or achieving worldly success. It's about living in alignment with the reason God created you. Understanding your divine calling. Your calling is not something you have to invent or force. It's already within you, waiting to be discovered. God equips each of us with unique talents, passions, and experiences that align perfectly with our purpose. But here's the key. Discovering your calling requires seeking God first. It requires spending time in prayer, asking Him to reveal the path He has set before you. Jeremiah 29:11 beautifully captures God's promise for our lives. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." This verse reminds us that God's plan is good. Even when we don't understand it, we can trust that His purpose is for our benefit. Discovering your divine calling isn't about a sudden epiphany or a booming voice from the heavens. Often, it's a gradual process of reflection, prayer, and taking small steps of faith. It's about listening to that quiet voice in your heart, the one that nudges you towards certain passions or dreams. Clues to your calling. Sometimes the best way to understand your calling is to look at what you're naturally drawn to. What are the things that light a fire in your soul? What are the activities or causes that make you feel alive? These passions are not random. They are hints from God about what He created you to do. Another clue lies in your talents. Are you a good listener, a natural leader, a creative thinker? These abilities aren't just for your enjoyment. They are tools for fulfilling your purpose. Even the challenges and hardships you've faced can point to your calling. Often the struggles we overcome prepare us to help others in similar situations. For example, someone who has endured the pain of loss might be called to comfort others who are grieving. Someone who has faced financial struggles might be inspired to teach others about budgeting or creating opportunities for growth. Your life experiences, both good and bad, are part of the toolkit God has given you to live out your purpose. Overcoming doubt. It's normal to feel doubt when thinking about your divine calling. You might wonder, what if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? But here's the truth. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. When God places a purpose on your life, He also provides the resources, guidance, and strength you need to fulfill it. Your job is not to have everything figured out. Your job is to take the first step in faith. Remember Moses. When God called him to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, Moses doubted his abilities. He worried about his speech, his leadership skills, and whether the people would listen to him. But God didn't focus on Moses' limitations. He focused on His own power to work through Moses. The same is true for you. God's purpose for your life isn't limited by your weaknesses. In fact, He often uses those weaknesses to show His strength. God's timing is perfect. One of the most challenging aspects of discovering your divine calling is waiting for God's timing. In our fast-paced world, we want answers immediately, but God's timing is always perfect, even when it feels slow. Sometimes He allows us to go through seasons of preparation before stepping into our purpose. These seasons might feel frustrating, but they are necessary. Think of a seed planted in the ground. Before it becomes a tree, it must go through a period of unseen growth beneath the surface. In the same way, God often works in us quietly, building our character, teaching us patience, and strengthening our faith before revealing the full picture of our calling. The power of small steps. Living out your purpose doesn't always mean making huge, dramatic changes. Often, it's about taking small, faithful steps in the right direction. Start by asking God to guide you each day. Look for opportunities to use your talents and passions to serve others. When you act in faith, even in small ways, God opens doors and leads you closer to your purpose. Imagine a puzzle. At first, the pieces seem scattered and unrelated, but as you begin to fit them together, the picture becomes clearer. Your calling is much the same. The small pieces, your talents, passions, experiences, and actions, come together over time to reveal the beautiful purpose God has for your life. Serving others through your calling. At its core, your divine calling is not about you. It's about serving others. God's purpose for your life will always involve making a positive impact on the people around you. This might mean helping a neighbor in need, mentoring a struggling friend, or creating something that inspires others. Whatever your calling is, it will bring glory to God and goodness to others. Jesus Himself said, "The Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve." When we align our lives with this principle, we discover true fulfillment. Serving others through your calling brings a sense of joy and peace that nothing else can match. When you discover and embrace your divine calling, life takes on a new sense of purpose. Decisions become clearer because they're guided by a higher goal. Challenges become opportunities because they are part of the journey God has designed for you. Most importantly, you experience the deep satisfaction of knowing you are walking in step with God's plan. Living in alignment with your calling doesn't mean life will be free of struggles, but it does mean you'll have a clear direction and a sense of peace that comes from knowing you're on the right path. You'll find that even the most mundane tasks become meaningful when they are connected to your greater purpose. If you're unsure of your purpose right now, don't worry. Start by seeking God in prayer. Ask Him to reveal His plan for your life. Reflect on your passions, talents, and experiences, and look for ways to use them to serve others. Take small steps of faith, trusting that God will guide you as you go. Remember, your calling is unique to you. No one else can fulfill the role God has designed for you. Embrace it, trust in His timing, and watch as He works through you to make a difference in the world. Your purpose is waiting. Take the first step toward discovering it today. Chapter 6. The Power of Forgiveness. Free yourself and discover true peace. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful acts a person can perform, yet it's often the hardest. When someone hurts us deeply, the pain can linger in our hearts for years, even decades. We replay the event in our minds, hold on to the resentment, and sometimes even feel justified in our anger. But here's the truth. Holding on to unforgiveness doesn't hurt the other person. It hurts us. It's like carrying a heavy burden that only gets heavier with time. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is the key to freedom and true peace. Why forgiveness matters. God designed us to live in peace, but unforgiveness robs us of that peace. It keeps us stuck in the past, reliving the pain over and over. It can affect our health, our relationships, and even our connection with God. Forgiveness, however, releases us from that cycle. It doesn't mean we're excusing the wrong or forgetting what happened. It means we're choosing to let go of the bitterness and give the situation over to God. The Bible emphasizes forgiveness over and over. In Matthew 6:14-15, Jesus said, "For if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their sins, your Father will not forgive your sins." Forgiveness is not optional for those who seek to follow God. It's a commandment. But it's also a gift because it sets us free. What forgiveness is and what it isn't. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. Some people think forgiving means saying that what the other person did was okay. But that's not true. Forgiveness is not about condoning harmful behavior or pretending the pain didn't happen. It's about releasing the grip that the offense has on your heart. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of resentment. Forgiveness is also not about forgetting. Some wounds leave scars, and those scars might stay with us for a lifetime. But scars can be reminders of healing rather than pain. Forgiveness transforms those scars from marks of hurt to symbols of resilience and grace. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation either. While reconciliation is a beautiful thing, it requires both parties to work toward rebuilding trust. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is something you can do on your own, regardless of the other person's actions or attitude. The spiritual power of forgiveness. When we forgive, we reflect the character of God. Throughout the Bible, we see countless examples of God's forgiveness toward humanity. Despite our mistakes, our stubbornness, and our sins, God continually forgives us. His mercy is infinite. When we choose to forgive others, we are imitating His love and grace. Think about the parable of the prodigal son. Even after the son squandered his inheritance and dishonored his father, the father welcomed him back with open arms. That's the kind of forgiveness God shows us, and it's the kind of forgiveness He calls us to extend to others. But forgiveness isn't just about reflecting God's love. It's about experiencing His peace. When you forgive, you open the door for God's healing power to flow into your life. The anger and bitterness that once consumed you are replaced by peace, joy, and freedom. The cost of unforgiveness. Holding on to unforgiveness comes at a high cost. It can affect every area of your life, from your mental health to your physical well-being. Studies have shown that chronic resentment can lead to stress, high blood pressure, and even a weakened immune system. Emotionally, it keeps you stuck in a cycle of negativity, making it harder to trust, love, and move forward. Spiritually, unforgiveness creates a barrier between you and God. When we refuse to forgive others, we close ourselves off to the forgiveness God wants to give us. It's like building a wall between us and His grace. But the moment we choose to forgive, that wall comes down, and we can fully experience His love and mercy. How to forgive? Forgiveness is a journey, and it often doesn't happen overnight. It starts with a decision, a choice to release the pain and trust God with the outcome. Here are some steps to help you on the path to forgiveness. Acknowledge the hurt. You can't forgive what you don't admit. Be honest about how you feel and the impact the offense has had on you. It's okay to feel hurt, angry, or betrayed. These emotions are valid. Pray for strength. Forgiveness is not something we can do on our own. It requires God's help. Ask Him to give you the strength and grace to forgive. Remember, His power is made perfect in our weakness. Let go of revenge. Forgiveness means letting go of the desire to get even. Trust that God is the ultimate judge, and He will handle the situation in His perfect way and timing. Focus on God's forgiveness. Reflect on the times when God has forgiven you. None of us are perfect, yet God shows us mercy every day. When you think about His grace, it becomes easier to extend that same grace to others. Release the burden. Picture yourself handing the pain and resentment over to God. Imagine Him taking that heavy weight off your shoulders. This is a powerful way to visualize the freedom that forgiveness brings. Practice forgiveness. Daily. Forgiveness is not a one-time event, it's a daily choice. Some days will be harder than others, but with God's help, you can continue to let go and move forward. Forgiving yourself. Sometimes, the hardest person to forgive is yourself. You might carry guilt or shame over past mistakes, feeling like you'll never be good enough or that you've let God down. But here's the truth. If God, the Creator of the universe, can forgive you, who are you not to forgive yourself? Self-forgiveness is essential for healing. It allows you to move forward without being weighed down by regret. Remember, God's grace is sufficient. His forgiveness is complete. When He says you're forgiven, it's final. The freedom of forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't just heal relationships, it heals you. It sets you free from the chains of anger, bitterness, and resentment. It allows you to live fully in the present, no longer trapped by the pain of the past. Most importantly, it opens the door for God's peace to fill your heart. Think of forgiveness as a gift, not just to the person who hurt you, but to yourself. It's a gift that brings freedom, joy, and a renewed sense of purpose. And as you forgive, you'll discover that the peace you gain is far greater than the pain you've let go. Forgiveness is not always easy, but it's always worth it. Take the first step today and watch how God transforms your heart and your life. Chapter 7. The Miracle of Prayer. How to unlock God's power in your life. Prayer is more than words. It's a divine connection to the Creator, a bridge that links the human heart with infinite power and love. It's not just an act of faith, it's a profound experience that brings comfort, clarity, and transformation. Through prayer, we find the strength to face life's challenges, the peace to endure trials, and the guidance to navigate uncertain paths. Yet, so many of us misunderstand what prayer truly is and the role it plays in our lives. Some people think of prayer as a ritual, something we're supposed to do at specific times, using specific words. Others see it as a last resort, a desperate plea for help when all else has failed. But prayer is neither of these things. Prayer is a relationship. It's a conversation with God, one that requires honesty, vulnerability, and trust. It's not about saying the right words, but about opening your heart and inviting God into your life. The essence of prayer. At its core, prayer is a way of acknowledging that we cannot do life on our own. It's a surrender of control, a recognition that we need God's guidance, wisdom, and strength. Prayer allows us to lay down our burdens at His feet, trusting that He cares for us and will provide what we need. When you pray, you're not informing God of your problems. He already knows them. Instead, you're building a relationship with Him. You're drawing closer to the one who loves you unconditionally, who knows your heart better than you do. This connection is where the miracle of prayer begins. It's not just about changing your circumstances, it's about changing you. The transformative power of prayer. Prayer has a unique ability to transform our hearts and minds. When you pray, you shift your focus from your problems to God's power. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by life's challenges when we try to face them on our own. But prayer reminds us that we're not alone. It helps us see that God is bigger than any obstacle we might face. Consider the peace that comes when you pray during a moment of anxiety. You might start with a heavy heart, burdened by worries and doubts. But as you pour out your concerns to God, you begin to feel a sense of calm. This isn't a coincidence. It's the presence of God working within you, reminding you that He is in control. Prayer also helps us align our will with God's. Often we come to God with specific requests, asking Him to fix things or give us what we think we need. But as we pray, we may realize that what we're asking for isn't what's best for us. Prayer isn't about bending God to our will. It's about allowing Him to shape our desires and align our hearts with His perfect plan. The power of consistency in prayer. One of the most important aspects of prayer is consistency. Prayer isn't just for moments of crisis. It's a daily habit that keeps us connected to God. Think of prayer as spiritual nourishment. Just as your body needs food to stay healthy, your soul needs prayer to stay strong. When you pray regularly, you build a relationship with God that deepens over time. You begin to recognize His voice more clearly, understand His guidance more fully, and trust His promises more completely. This consistency creates a foundation of faith that can withstand life's storms. Prayer brings clarity. Life is filled with decisions, and it's not always easy to know which path to take. Prayer brings clarity in moments of confusion. When you seek God's guidance through prayer, you open yourself to His wisdom. Sometimes the answer comes as a quiet nudge in your heart, a sense of peace about a particular decision. Other times, it may come through a verse of Scripture, a conversation with a friend, or an unexpected opportunity. Even when the answer isn't immediate, prayer gives you the patience and trust to wait for God's timing. It reminds you that He sees the bigger picture and knows what's best for you, even when you don't understand His ways. The role of faith in prayer. Faith is the foundation of prayer. Without faith, prayer becomes an empty ritual, a set of words spoken without conviction. But when you pray with faith, you unlock the full power of this divine connection. Faith means believing that God hears your prayers even when you don't see immediate results. It means trusting that He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating events for your good. There's a beautiful simplicity in this trust. Faith allows you to pray without fear, knowing that God's answer, whether it's yes, no, or wait, is always what's best for you. It frees you from the need to control the outcome and gives you the peace to rest in God's care. Prayer as a lifestyle. Prayer is not meant to be confined to a specific time or place. It's a way of life, an ongoing conversation with God that weaves through every part of your day. You can pray in the quiet of the morning, in the middle of a busy workday, or as you drift off to sleep at night. There are no rules about when or where to pray. What matters is the connection. When you make prayer a regular part of your life, you begin to see its impact everywhere. You'll notice how it shapes your thoughts, guides your decisions, and strengthens your relationships. Prayer becomes the thread that ties everything together, a constant reminder of God's presence and love. The miracles of prayer. The miracles of prayer are not always dramatic or immediate. Sometimes they come in quiet, unexpected ways. A burden you've carried for years suddenly feels lighter. A situation you thought was hopeless takes a surprising turn. Or perhaps the miracle is simply the peace you feel in your heart, knowing that God is in control. But prayer isn't just about receiving miracles, it's about becoming one. When you pray, you allow God to work through you to bless others. Your prayers for a friend in need, a struggling family member, or a hurting community have the power to bring about change, not because of anything you do, but because of what God does through you. Prayer changes you. One of the greatest miracles of prayer is how it changes you. It softens your heart, strengthens your spirit, and deepens your faith. It teaches you to rely on God instead of your own strength and to see His hand in every part of your life. When you pray, you're not just asking God to work in your circumstances, you're inviting Him to work in you. And as you grow in your relationship with Him, you'll begin to notice how prayer transforms not only your life, but also the lives of those around you. Prayer is a gift, an open invitation from God to come to Him with everything, your joys, your struggles, your doubts, and your dreams. He doesn't ask for perfect words or perfect timing. He simply asks for your heart. So take a moment today to pray, speak to God with honesty and openness, and listen for His voice. Whether you're asking for guidance, expressing gratitude, or simply sitting in His presence, know that He hears you. Through prayer, you can experience His power, His peace, and His presence in a way that will transform your life forever. Chapter 8. The Unshakable Mind, Finding Peace Through God's Presence. In a world filled with chaos, uncertainty, and constant noise, peace can feel like a distant dream. Stress, anxiety, and worry often cloud our thoughts, leaving us restless and overwhelmed. But true peace isn't something we find in our circumstances, it's something we find in God's presence. When our minds are anchored in Him, they become unshakable, steady and calm, even in the middle of life's storms. God's peace is not like the fleeting calm the world offers. It's not dependent on things going right or situations being perfect. It's a deep, abiding peace that surpasses understanding, a gift from God to those who trust in Him. This chapter explores how to cultivate an unshakable mind by seeking God's presence and allowing His peace to transform your heart and thoughts. The source of true peace. True peace comes from knowing who God is and trusting in His sovereignty. He is the creator of the universe, the one who holds all things in His hands. When you truly grasp the magnitude of His power and the depth of His love for you, worry begins to fade. You realize that no problem is too big for Him to handle, and no detail of your life is too small for His care. Isaiah 26:3 says, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you." This verse highlights an important truth. Peace begins in the mind. When your thoughts are fixed on God, on His promises, His character, and His faithfulness, you experience a sense of calm that the world cannot shake. Why we struggle to find peace. Many of us struggle to find peace because we allow our minds to be consumed by the wrong things. We dwell on our fears, replay past mistakes, and worry about the future. The more we focus on these things, the more they grow, taking up space in our minds and crowding out God's presence. Distractions also play a major role. In today's world, we're constantly bombarded by news, social media, and endless to-do lists. It's easy to feel like there's no time to pause and be still, but peace requires intentionality. You have to make a conscious effort to step away from the noise and create space for God to speak to your heart. The power of God's presence. God's presence is the ultimate source of peace. When you spend time with Him, through prayer, worship, or simply sitting in silence, you allow His Spirit to fill your mind and heart. In His presence, you are reminded of His love, His promises, and His control over every aspect of your life. Think about a time when you felt completely at ease. Maybe it was during a quiet moment in nature, a heartfelt prayer, or a time of worship. That sense of peace you felt wasn't just a coincidence. It was God's presence surrounding you. He offers that same peace every day, but it's up to us to seek it. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." This verse is an invitation to pause, let go of your worries, and simply rest in the knowledge that God is in control. When you take the time to be still, you create room for His peace to take root in your life. Guarding your mind. To cultivate an unshakable mind, it's important to guard what you allow into your thoughts. Just as you wouldn't let harmful substances into your body, you must be careful about the influences you allow into your mind. Negative thoughts, toxic relationships, and constant exposure to fear-driven media can all disrupt your peace. Philippians 4:8 offers a powerful guideline for protecting your mind. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. By focusing on what is good and uplifting, you create an environment where God's peace can thrive. The role of faith in finding peace. Faith and peace go hand in hand. When you trust God completely, you're able to let go of the things that cause anxiety. Faith doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It means you trust that God will see you through them. It's the confidence that He is working all things together for your good, even when you don't understand how. Imagine walking across a bridge over a rushing river. If the bridge is sturdy, you don't worry about falling. You trust that it will hold you. In the same way, faith is trusting that God is your foundation, strong and unshakable. When you place your trust in Him, you can walk through life's challenges with confidence and peace. Practicing stillness. One of the most effective ways to find peace is to practice stillness. In our fast-paced world, this can feel counterintuitive, but it's essential for cultivating an unshakable mind. Stillness is not just about being quiet. It's about creating a space where you can connect with God. Start by setting aside a few minutes each day to be still. Find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and focus on God. You don't need to say anything, just sit in His presence. As you do this regularly, you'll begin to notice a sense of calm washing over you, even in the midst of chaos. Surrendering your worries. Peace comes when you surrender your worries to God. It's natural to feel anxious about the things you can't control, but holding on to those worries only robs you of peace. Instead, give them to God. 1 Peter 5:7 reminds us, "Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you." Surrendering doesn't mean ignoring your responsibilities or pretending your problems don't exist. It means acknowledging that God is bigger than your problems and trusting Him to take care of them. When you let go of the need to control everything, you make room for God's peace to fill your heart. Living with an unshakable mind. An unshakable mind isn't something you achieve overnight. It's a daily practice of trusting God, guarding your thoughts, and seeking His presence. It's about making a choice each day to focus on His promises instead of your problems. Over time, this mindset becomes a habit. You'll find that the things that used to overwhelm you no longer have the same power. You'll face challenges with a sense of calm, knowing that God is with you and His peace is within reach. God's peace is a gift, freely offered to anyone who seeks it. It's not something you have to earn or work for. It's simply a matter of opening your heart to Him. When you do, you'll experience a peace that doesn't make sense by the world's standards, a peace that remains even in the midst of chaos. Take time today to seek God's presence. Let His peace fill your heart and mind. As you do, you'll discover the strength and calm that come from having an unshakable mind, grounded in the unchanging love and power of God. Chapter 9. Rising Through Adversity. How God Turns Trials into Triumphs. Life is full of challenges. No one escapes seasons of difficulty, whether it's the loss of a loved one, financial hardship, a broken relationship, or even the quiet battles we face within ourselves. Adversity can feel overwhelming, like an insurmountable mountain blocking our path. But here's the incredible truth. God never wastes our pain. Every trial we face has the potential to be transformed into a triumph when we place our trust in Him. God has a purpose for everything we go through, even when we can't see it. The storms in our lives are not meant to destroy us, but to strengthen us, shape us, and draw us closer to Him. Just as a diamond is formed under pressure, so too are we refined through the challenges we endure. This chapter will explore how God uses adversity to build us up and how we can rise above it with faith, resilience, and hope. The promise of God's presence in adversity. One of the greatest comforts in times of trouble is knowing that we're not alone. God never abandons us, even in our darkest moments. In Isaiah 43:2, He promises, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze." This doesn't mean we won't face challenges, but it does mean that God will walk with us through every trial. When we feel overwhelmed, it's easy to believe the lie that God has forgotten us. But the truth is, He's closer than ever. He sees our pain, understands our struggles, and is working behind the scenes in ways we can't yet comprehend. His presence gives us the strength to keep going, even when the road ahead seems impossible. Adversity as a refining process. Adversity has a way of exposing our weaknesses and testing our faith. But this isn't a punishment, it's a refining process. Just as gold is purified by fire, our character is refined through trials. The things that once held us back, fear, doubt, pride, are burned away, leaving us stronger and more dependent on God. Think of Joseph in the Bible. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and falsely accused of a crime he didn't commit. For years it seemed like everything was working against him. But God was with Joseph every step of the way, using each trial to prepare him for his ultimate purpose. In the end, Joseph rose to a position of great authority, and he was able to save his family and many others from famine. What seemed like a series of misfortunes was actually part of God's perfect plan. Your story might look different, but the principle is the same. The trials you face are not the end of your story. They are chapters in a larger narrative that God is writing for your good and His glory. Finding strength in weakness. One of the paradoxes of faith is that our greatest strength often comes from recognizing our weakness. When we acknowledge that we can't do it on our own, we create space for God's power to work through us. The Apostle Paul understood this well when he wrote in 2 Corinthians 12:9, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." In our culture, admitting weakness is often seen as a sign of failure. but in God's kingdom, it's a sign of humility and trust. When we surrender our struggles to Him, we tap into a strength that goes beyond anything we could muster on our own. This divine strength enables us to rise above our circumstances and face adversity with courage and hope. Adversity as a test of faith. Adversity challenges our faith, but it also strengthens it. It forces us to ask difficult questions. Do I truly trust God? Will I rely on Him even when I don't understand His plan? These moments of questioning are not signs of weakness. They are opportunities to deepen our relationship with God. Faith is like a muscle. It grows stronger when it's exercised. When you face a challenge and choose to trust God, even when it's hard, your faith becomes more resilient. Over time, you'll look back on those moments of adversity and see how they prepared you for greater blessings and responsibilities. Learning to see trials as opportunities. It's natural to view adversity as a setback, but God invites us to see it as an opportunity for growth. Every challenge is an opportunity to develop resilience, learn valuable lessons, and draw closer to God. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we can ask, "What is God teaching me through this?" Some of the most inspiring stories in history are about people who turned their pain into purpose. Think of someone like Nelson Mandela, who endured decades of imprisonment and emerged with a vision of reconciliation and justice that changed the world. While not every trial is as dramatic, each one has the potential to teach us something profound and shape us into the person God created us to be. The role of hope in rising above. Hope is the anchor that keeps us steady during life's storms. It's the belief that better days are ahead and that God is working all things together for our good. Romans 8:28 reminds us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Hope doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending that everything is fine. It means holding on to the promise that God is in control, even when life feels chaotic. It's the assurance that the pain you're experiencing now is not permanent, and that God's plans for you are good. Turning pain into purpose. One of the most beautiful things about God is His ability to bring purpose out of pain. He can take the broken pieces of our lives and create something beautiful. The very trials that once seemed like obstacles can become stepping stones to a greater purpose. For example, someone who has overcome addiction might be called to help others who are struggling. Someone who has experienced loss might become a source of comfort and hope for others in similar situations. God doesn't waste our pain. He redeems it and uses it for His glory and our good. Rising above with God's strength. When you face adversity, remember that you don't have to rise above it on your own. God is your strength, your guide, and your protector. He will give you what you need to persevere, even when the path is difficult. Take each day one step at a time, trusting that God is walking with you. Lean on His promises, seek His guidance in prayer, and surround yourself with people who will encourage and support you. With His help, you can overcome any challenge and emerge stronger, wiser, and more faithful than before. The triumph after the trial. The story doesn't end with the trial, it ends with the triumph. When you look back on your life, you'll see how God used every challenge to shape you, grow you, and prepare you for something greater. The very things that once felt like setbacks will become testimonies of His faithfulness. No matter what you're facing right now, know this: you are not alone. God is with you, and He is working everything for your good. Trust Him, hold on to hope, and rise through adversity. Your triumph is closer than you think. Chapter 10. Unleashing the Impossible. How God's power makes dreams a reality. Life often feels full of limits. We set goals, dream big, and work hard, but sometimes the obstacles seem insurmountable. We might face self-doubt, financial struggles, or situations that feel completely out of our control. But here's the truth. God specializes in the impossible. The same God who parted the Red Sea, healed the sick, and raised the dead is the same God who is working in your life today. When we invite Him into our plans and trust Him with our dreams, we unlock a power that can make the impossible possible. God doesn't just want us to live ordinary lives. He calls us to live extraordinary ones, lives that reflect His power, His love, and His purpose. When we step out in faith, trusting Him with our dreams, we open the door for miracles to happen. God's unlimited power. God's power has no limits. He created the universe with a word, formed the stars, and breathed life into humanity. What may seem impossible to us is effortless for Him. In Luke 1:37, the angel Gabriel says, "For nothing will be impossible with God." This verse isn't just a statement, it's a promise. We often limit what we think is possible based on our abilities, resources, or circumstances. But God's power isn't confined by human constraints. He can open doors that no one can shut, provide resources in unexpected ways, and create opportunities that defy logic. When we trust Him, we tap into a source of strength and creativity far greater than anything we could imagine. Letting go of limiting beliefs. One of the greatest barriers to achieving our dreams is our own mindset. We tell ourselves things like, "I'm not good enough," "I don't have what it takes," or "it's too late for me." These limiting beliefs keep us stuck and prevent us from stepping into the life God has planned for us. But God sees us differently. He doesn't look at our weaknesses or failures. He looks at our potential. In fact, He often uses the very things we see as limitations to demonstrate His power. Moses doubted his ability to lead because of his speech, but God used him to deliver an entire nation. Gideon saw himself as the least of his family, but God called him a mighty warrior. When we let go of our doubts and trust God, we open ourselves up to His limitless possibilities. The role of faith in achieving the impossible. Faith is the key that unlocks God's power in our lives. Hebrews 11:1 defines faith as the confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Faith doesn't require us to have all the answers or know how everything will work out. It simply asks us to trust that God does. When you dream big, it's natural to feel fear or uncertainty. But faith allows you to move forward despite those feelings. It gives you the courage to take the first step, even when you don't see the whole path. And as you move in faith, God begins to work in ways you never expected. Consider the story of Peter walking on water. When Jesus called him to step out of the boat, Peter didn't hesitate. He didn't wait for calm seas or a clear explanation. He trusted Jesus and took a step of faith. And for a moment, he did the impossible. Though he faltered when he looked at the waves, Jesus was there to lift him up. The same is true for us. When we focus on Jesus and trust His power, we can do things we never thought possible. Dreaming with God. When we dream with God, our dreams become more than personal ambitions. They become part of His greater purpose. God's dreams for us are bigger and better than anything we could imagine on our own. They're not just about our success or happiness. They're about making an impact, glorifying Him, and bringing good to others. Invite God into your dreams. Ask Him to show you His plans for your life and to guide your steps. As Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." Trust that His plans are greater than your own, and be willing to follow where He leads. Overcoming obstacles. Pursuing big dreams often comes with challenges. You might face rejection, setbacks, or moments of doubt. But these obstacles are not signs that you're on the wrong path. They're opportunities for growth and perseverance. Romans 5:3-4 reminds us, "We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope." God uses these moments to strengthen your faith and prepare you for the blessings ahead. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to rely on Him, to grow in resilience, and to deepen your trust in His plan. And as you overcome these obstacles, you'll find that the journey itself is just as important as the destination. Recognizing miracles. Sometimes we get so focused on the big picture that we miss the small miracles along the way. God's power doesn't always show up in dramatic ways. It's often found in the everyday moments. The unexpected encouragement from a friend, the provision that comes just when you need it, or the strength to keep going when you feel like giving up. These are all evidence of God working in your life. Take time to recognize and thank God for these moments. Gratitude keeps your heart open to His blessings and reminds you of His faithfulness. Living boldly in God's power. Once you experience the impossible through God, you'll never see the world the same way again. You'll realize that limits are often self-imposed, and that with God, there truly are no boundaries. This newfound perspective allows you to live boldly, taking risks and pursuing dreams that align with His will. Living boldly doesn't mean you won't face fear or uncertainty. It means you choose to act anyway, trusting that God will provide what you need. It means stepping out of your comfort zone, knowing that He is with you every step of the way. A life that reflects God's glory. When you allow God to work through you, your life becomes a testimony to His power and goodness. The dreams He fulfills in your life aren't just for your benefit. They're a reflection of His glory. They inspire others to trust Him and pursue their own God-given dreams. Imagine the impact your life can have when you fully embrace God's power. The impossible becomes possible, and your story becomes a light for others to see His greatness. This is the kind of life God calls us to, a life that overflows with purpose, impact, and miracles. The invitation to dream big. God is inviting you to dream big. He's asking you to trust Him with your hopes, your plans, and your fears. He wants to show you what's possible when you place your faith in Him. No dream is too big, and no obstacle is too great when God is on your side. So take the first step. Pray boldly, act courageously, and trust completely. With God, the impossible is not only possible, it's inevitable. Let Him guide you, strengthen you, and transform your dreams into reality. Your journey toward the extraordinary starts today.